It's the other
No, it's just
dirty
those two
bastard.
beers and then a thing of water. I got a little tipsy last night for, we went out, Amy and me, and met another couple, did some dinner and whatever you call that fucking...
Key party.
Yeah, there's like
No,
I mean, there's
I'm
enough
so
awkward
high.
there's enough awkward pauses that I'm like, what
know.
are you leading us to?
We were doing some
was,
drinking and we met up another couple.
What do you
Don't
call
worry
it?
about
Sim
it.
golf, like indoor golf,
Yeah,
where you hit into like a screen.
sure.
Yeah.
Schlafly's.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films. And I'm Paul, and next to me is Mike.
Hey,
Hazel is joining us.
Hello.
Jeremy is joining us.
aka
The pipes are clean.
Collin is joining us.
Hey.
And Lamar's still getting over a little bit of the ick and will be joining us next week.
Yeah,
And-
an alien's going to burst forth from his chest next week.
I knew it.
Live on the podcast.
Well, I mean, once he hears like you're doing sim golf and Schlafly's, I think.
Yeah.
He'd rather stay
Just
home
did a
and
line
take
of
care of his
Schlafly's
Bronx.
right now.
This movie comes at us at an interesting way, and our movie tonight is Cabin Boy, 1994. And we were asking Hazel, what are some movies you would like to maybe cover at some point in time, and she came up with a dynamite list. And Mike and I even noted, and I say dynamite like giving Mike like preemptive props and myself, where I'm like, some of those movies were even on our list. But I say that like really, that's like really unifies kind of the mindset of Rabbit Troop Sucks, where it's like-minded people are like, that movie. I'm like, that movie is the one we thought of. But she added a bunch to the list. But funny enough, a movie that came from her mom is Cabin Boy, 1994. And I approached all these gentlemen, and immediately I was like, so Hazel's mom wants to do Cabin Boy. And everyone's like, oh my God, of course. And that was it. Boom. It went up a list immediately. And here we are. So when Hazel's mom asks for Cabin Boy, you give her Cabin Boy.
She gets Cabin Boy. Yeah.
Right.
My mom's
Yeah.
like the obscure movie podcast mob boss.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's do
There you go.
Cabin Boy.
That's how we read the list.
Yeah,
Actually.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. But yeah. So yeah, Cabin Boy. We have all seen this movie outside of Collin. I am correct with that. I mean, I know for a fact Jeremy saw this, and I could prove that here in a moment. But Hazel clearly, and Mike and I have seen it. So yeah, it'd just be Collin.
How can you prove that Jeremy's seen it?
Because-
Do you have a
Yeah,
picture or
Well,
Very
no,
interesting.
because when Jeremy saw this movie in 1994. He then proceeded to go to school and call us all fancy lads for the continuing
That's
week.
so funny.
Like, I know when this movie roughly came out and who I was with, and it was Jeremy.
So when
Yeah.
you mentioned this movie, so one of my buddies who's a little bit older than me also mentioned that in high school he had a friend who called everyone fancy lads. And when you guys brought up this movie and mentioned fancy lads, I am for sure the exact same thing happened.
that tracks?
Yeah.
And that's like a tiny school in Kansas. So Jeremy, you're not so unique, fancy lad.
Let's go two summaries. They both seem short, and I feel both add a little bit of dimension to this film. Summary 1. A snobby fishing school graduate mistakenly winds up on an ill-fated fishing boat and faces the wrath of a crew that considers him bad luck. All right, like kind of a straightforward one. Second one. Snobby schoolboy goes left and mistakes the filthy whore for his millionaire dad's yacht. He joins the filthy fishermen for hijinks on the high seas.
I'm going to say that not even a blind and deaf man could not mistake this boat for a fancy yacht.
He was a fancy
A man
lad.
who has both arms removed, blind and deaf. He would immediately just
You
smell it as
really
he was
have to
approaching.
suspend disbelief on that one.
Well, he thought it was a theme boat.
Yes, those steamboats.
The theme is shit.
Correct.
Things to note. We have director Adam Resnick. This is the only movie he directed. So there is clearly diversity in the reviews of this movie, and I don't know what that means for this director, because this director has written and produced some cool stuff alongside this, and he definitely has worked with Chris Elliott. Things notably, we talked about Death to Smoochie. He's the writer for this. He was the writer for The Larry Sanders Show, and he's the creator of Get a Life. So, I mean, this guy seems like successful overall, and he has a lot of ties to Chris Elliott, so that's pretty dope. There's one of my favorite and most memorable Get a Life episodes is Chris Elliot. I don't know how he gets it. I think it was like one of those things in a comic book where it's like, do you want a hovercraft? Like, send $5 in this stamp. And he does it, and it's build a submarine in your bathtub, but it's like a full-size submarine that he just lives in his bathtub. It's very bizarre. If anyone has not seen Get a Life, it is a very, very odd show, but it's a lot of fun. But yeah, Chris Elliot is the star of this. I asked what anyone might know him from. Collin immediately said Schitt's Creek. He's absolutely amazing in this. I think a lot of people are going to know him in Groundhog Day. On top of that, there's something about Mary.
Scary movie too for me.
Scary movie too.
Gotta grab onto someone's strong hand.
Yeah,
especially in their bowl of mashed potatoes.
Get the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, and we have like just tons of like cameos of a lot of fun people all throughout this. I mean, this is going to be the crew of the show or the crew of the boat, and we'll talk about this. Ricky Lake, amazing acting skills as Hazel is
Really shows her
Absolutely.
range.
Andy Richter, kind of amazing. Last time we saw Andy Richter was Martin and Orloff. Really early episode for us. We were just boys then.
Yeah.
Just
Now we're podcast men.
That's right.
we did
Me
it.
especially.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about these sea dogs. Are they glistening enough for Hazel?
I was
better
gonna
be.
say these are the
Well,
once
the one guy
again
was.
man glisten.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm the man glisten expert.
you're the man glisten
and
correspondent.
these
And
men were glistening.
early on, Collin was the Rob Schneider correspondent. It's like a
With this
Dr.
motley
Seuss.
crew, though, I'm not sure if that glisten is pure sweat or
There's a
something
couple
else.
things.
Yeah. It depends on what you're drinking that day.
It was a blend.
Yeah. That nice seawater glisten.
It's water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brings you into the new year. Let's talk about the first time maybe we all saw this film outside of Collin, since this is his first time. So I definitely saw this movie in 1994. I don't know if I remember if I exactly saw this in the theater with Jeremy, but I definitely remember us renting this movie. So clearly close to this movie's release, I saw it. I'm guessing 94, 95 at the latest, but I may have seen this in the theater. Again, I remember very vividly Jeremy calling us all fancy lads for a very long time. So it makes me think I did see this in the theater, but I do remember renting this movie. This movie, for me, when I was much younger, was okay. I think it's so dialogue heavy that I think I was like a little more numbed to it. Because I'm going to tell you, I've seen this movie since, by all means, and I kind of knew what to expect. This movie, over the years, constantly grows on me. This movie is way more of like watching a small play performance. There's only like imagine just like a couple set changes and more about like, we're on a boat, we're on an island, like you're at school, like everything's kind of quick, but it's way more about the dialogue that's like happening amongst them. And just clearly, as just someone who is much younger to an adult, I have appreciated all of this much more. So these jokes, like as I get older, totally land way more with me than when I was younger. Again, I didn't dislike this movie when I was younger. I just thought it was kind of okay overall, and there was like more fun scenes. But now this movie, I'm just kind of open with it. Start to finish, I think this movie's a blast. Is this movie for everyone? God, no.
But it should be.
I don't know. There's Collin.
Collin wouldn't tell us what he thought about it after we finished. He didn't want to say.
I know. Secret.
You wanted to save that.
Collin's got a secret.
I just want to get kicked out immediately.
Yeah.
Get out of here. He's going to be the fancy lad.
Yeah.
He brought a little wig. No.
It's a merkin, but a
Oh,
little wig.
Oh,
that's for
Is that what it's called? Those little wigs?
Well, those
It's
the
a kind of
other
little
the
wig.
other little wigs are
it's one
the
version of a little
other
wig.
little wigs.
Yeah.
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 This movie is so nostalgic for me. I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things that was discovered in my family by like going to a video store and just like randomly choosing 3 rentals.
Oh yeah.
And it just became, it's weird to say, but this was like a childhood staple in our home. This became one of my mom's like comfort movies. And it's endlessly quoted in our house, like to this day. Like, I will hear my mom say regularly, "Here you go, chubby. Go buy yourself a spritzer." Like, she finds this movie hilarious in every way. And, like, I could probably quote the entire movie start to finish. It's silly and whimsical, and I think that's why, like, my sister and I liked it when we were kids, because we were like, what is going on here? And like you said, Paul, like, as I've gotten older, like, some of the jokes just hit so much more, and, like, my love for this movie has just grown year over year with every watch.
I think, like, being younger, I was like, oh, like, I knew Chris Elliott and I knew him from Get a Life. And I was like, some of his lines were more whimsical. I am a total member of the crew at this point in time. I'm like, their jokes, I'm like, oh my God, like, we would be friends. Yeah. Every one of the crew members, we would totally be friends. Especially if we encounter this fancy lad. I am team crew immediately.
I'd be having fish stick kitties with Big Teddy.
I would
100%.
be having some fish stick kitties.
What kind
Big titty questionable. I don't know. Question to Hazel. Are you from Colorado?
I am from Chicago originally.
Well.
But I've
Chicago
lived in-
connection. We got to talk about this on the side.
But I've lived in Denver mostly.
I'm kind of curious if you were young, like I moved here in the late 90s. If you were here before that, where were you checking out these video places?
I think we moved here in 92, I believe. We were going to Video Visions and Videoteque, two local video stores in Denver. One is over where the Wendy's is on 6th Avenue.
Yeah.
There was a huge video rental store there. And we would, like, my sister and I would, like, ride our bikes down there, like, pick out videos. We'd do that thing. I'm aging myself horribly at this point, but, like, you could go through and just, like, find a random video with a weird ass cover. I mean, and be like, I'm choosing that
Hazel,
one.
this is Jeremy and I's weekend, like, all throughout junior high and, like, early high school. Like, hey, kids, here's $20. Like, get some snacks and get, like, a handful of videos.
Yeah.
Like, sleep over, watch some weird ass shit.
And luckily, like, I think a lot of my mom's taste in movies kind of reflected on me, like, because she was always pretty cool. Like, she'd be like, yeah, like, go out and just pick whatever randoms you want and watch them. And sometimes she would cringe, and sometimes she would find, new videos for us to watch. But this was one of those, I feel like this was just like a random pick that we picked based on the weird cover.
Sure.
And it just became one of our regular rotation.
My mom, too, would pick, like, random stuff, and there are, like, awesome gems that have come out of this.
Yeah.
There's a movie that I'm not going to say that eventually our friend Chris Brewer, I hope, joins us for, because he's one of the few people that have mentioned this film. But I know Mike knows what I'm referencing. My mom also, like, one day was like, there's this movie called Baron von Munchausen, and we watched it together, and I was like,
Oh, God.
like,
Super weird.
yeah, and I was like,
so good.
Like, hell yeah, mom. Like, looking back, I was like, and she and I watched that, like, every which way. I was like, yes. So yeah, hugely influential, like, just picking by covers and, like, the weirdness, and, like, sometimes, like, when I moved here, I noted, like, we didn't have Hollywood videos. Like, that was my first exposure, and it was like every Tuesday, like, 5 movies, 5 nights, $5. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I was like, what? I'm like, of course, yeah, I have $5. And I was like, I could keep this for 5 nights. That included video games, various other things.
What
so,
a time to be alive.
yeah. So I'm like, I know we're dating ourselves, but I think just like the big thing is sometimes I load up some of these streaming apps and there's such a bombardment. You're like, oh my God, there's like 50,000 things here. But when you're at the video store and you're like, all right, there are like legitimately there are 100 things, and you're like, I know like what Batman looks like. I know what the Terminator 2 cover looks like. But they're like, what are these? You have a more limited selection. And you're like, anything goes. Let's do some weird shit. Let's watch some stuff. I don't know. I love it. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
We did it.
It was.
Yeah. That was it. Cabin Boy. 1994.
Thank you for next week.
Yeah. So, I mean, we learn about Chris Elliott, Nathanial Mayweather, and he is a fancy boy graduating from his Fancy Lad Academy. This guy is a total D-bag every which way. He treats everyone like garbage. There is a couple moments, I kind of forgot, I have not watched Cabin Boy for a while. I always remember that he's like a spoiled rich kid, but like the beginning, he is such an asshole, like outwardly to people. They're like, damn. Because I forgot how cruel he is. I again remember he's very spoiled, he's naive, he's dumb in areas, but like the way he talks to like his instructors and like the fellow students.
Nobody likes this guy.
Yeah, this guy is like just hated. And although he's graduated and everyone's like, thank God. Even his driver, when he graduates, they're like, we're going to take you to this ship. And halfway through, this is the problem.
Gets kicked out of the limo.
There are some questions. Like, as a person who would be watching this today, they would immediately kind of think like, this school is not in the early 90s. Like, it is sometime like back in the day when they were wearing like maybe powdered wigs or whatnot,
Sure.
or possibly in a different country.
But I feel the time frame is like clearly like you choose.
Yeah, the only
Yeah,
indication...
because like the limo that he picks him up in is clearly from the early 90s.
Right.
But then in,
Like, it's a
Trina
standard limousine.
later makes like references of like more modern things.
Right. But like if no one had said anything, the only indication that this movie takes place in the 90s is the one scene with the car.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
remove that, you could put this movie anywhere.
Yeah,
At any point in time.
And I like it for that reason, because I like that it's like it has that more like Terry Gilliam kind of feel to like Baron von Munchausen, where it's like it's almost like a accessible alt universe. We're not going to tell you any details, and maybe phones exist, maybe phones don't exist, like cars do, but like we're not going to tell you much about this. Like I kind of like that undefined whatever world I'm seeing.
It's like kind of dark whimsy.
Yeah, and I feel it helps hold up, like, because like if someone's even gonna watch this 20 years from now, like or dislike the film, no one's gonna be like, oh, it's aged because of like, why are they using cell phones? Why are these like TVs like this? Like they just like kind of rule that stuff out, and it's more like you understand there are cars, and even the car itself is like almost more timeless. Like it's not like
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's
here's a
just
Ferrari.
standard limo.
It's just
Yeah,
a
they-
limo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the limo driver, he pisses the limo driver off pretty bad, and the limo driver isn't having it, so he just releases him into the wild. And
Welcome
at this
to the
point in
real
time,
world,
you really
kid.
have no idea what time frame we're dealing with. This could be the 1800s now. Who knows?
It may as well be.
I mean, does anyone know the creation of the Fancy Lad? Where they come from?
No.
The year?
No.
The year?
The limo driver kicked him out of the limo and sent him back through time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kicked him all the way back into the 1800s.
Yeah, I mean, like, this guy's such
Kept
an
his
ass.
luggage.
Before he even leaves school, like, the headmaster's like, good luck with life. And he gets into the limo and throws, like, a coin. He's like, go get it, chubby. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, what the hell? Like, that's what I forgot about, like, how cruel he is. Like, again, I remember him being spoiled, but I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, clearly the limo driver's not having any of this.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a ton of like cut scenes from him at school, because he's basically there for
There are.
30 fucking seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
there.
the trivia
and they kick
on
him out.
IMDb says they cut a bunch of scenes from the school to make him even more hated, but they cut the scenes for time consideration. Now, this movie is
Hour and 20
probably
minutes. 120, yeah.
70 minutes long,
Yep.
tops,
Yeah.
of actual film,
And
that
it was-
you're watching.
It was honestly like I didn't realize it until a little bit later, like how little setup they did with this character, and I'm actually kind of it fits fine. Like you don't really,
Oh, yeah.
you don't
You
really,
don't-
you don't
need
need to see him
what
graduate
he
fancy
is.
lad school.
I
I
mean,
he's
I-
gonna be a fancy lad.
I totally agree. I mean, the things I forgot were just like the cruelty of this, but I totally agree, Collin, that like I don't know if seeing more of that would have helped me. I'm like, this guy's a total asshole. It's totally bankrolled by Daddy. Daddy seems distant and detached, and now this guy has like his own task, and since he's been spoon-fed everything, someone finally gives him what he deserves, or less. I mean, he deserves a lot more than this, but he can't navigate his way through anything, and now he's screwed.
Yeah. I mean, that limo driver really sets him on his journey.
Yeah.
The limo driver and that cow. Those are the two.
It's a learning limo journey.
I'd just like to make a note. I love a cow standing in front of a sign. I love it. I would, if I could be that correspondent instead of Manglisson, can we find more movies with cows standing in front of signs that move the plot along?
We can do that.
That's a heavy ask, but we can try.
Tommy
Are you
Boy,
fat shaming the cows, Mike?
Top Secret.
No?
It's a heavy.
Well, yeah, because of this cow standing in front of the sign, Nathaniel Mayweather goes the wrong way and finds a village. And immediately, Jeremy, he finds this old salt. Fancy lad.
David.
Yeah, David Letterman.
Or no, what's his name? What did he go by?
Yeah.
Earl, like Hoff,
Like a
something or
character
other.
used on the David Letterman show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, he's not actually listed in the credits as David Letterman, but as his pseudonym.
Yeah, so I think that, like, you know, it makes me think like everyone had to be having some fun on this. I assume this.
Or was embarrassed by it.
I don't
David
know.
Letterman's character was my favorite character of the whole movie. I just love him in that role.
Hey,
That's
Susie.
Even though it's only like 3 minutes long.
Yeah, he's
the,
pretty
the
good.
You wanna buy a
store-
monkey?
Yeah, the store was incredible. A little sign like you got fudgesicles.
Yes, we have fudgicles, Notary Public, and a radioactive sign. All of which I want to now hang up on the front of my house.
On paper, I don't know if someone's like, I'm gonna, you know, emasculate someone by calling them like girls' names and various other things. I don't know if I'd really be into that. I just think that's kind of like cheap. Like, again, on paper, and I think it's like really derogatory. Like, I think we're in a generation like we don't need that. This totally works for me. I
Yeah.
say that because Chris Elliott's character is such a piece of shit that like any kind of blow to his ego makes me happy as a viewer.
You
So
can
I-
overlook the sexism because it's
it's almost like I don't care how we get there as long as he feels like shit. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So
I
like
feel like it's a point of his. Listen, I'm probably reading far too deep into the language of Cabin Boy, but I'd like to think that in the first little bit, all of his interactions. I mean, even with Andy Richter calls him lady.
yeah.
You look like my granny. And David Letterman, Jennifer, here, come here. Everyone refers to him as a lady. And then as he works his way through the crew and learns his life lessons, he becomes a cabin man.
Kevin Boy to a Kevin, yes. Yeah, so I'm like, it's a very bizarre thing. Like, do you guys all feel what I'm saying? Like, on
Yeah,
paper,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
presented these jokes, I'd be like, I don't know. But like, knowing that this hurts this character so much, I'm like, yes.
Because he's such a little shit.
yeah. I'm like, yes, feel it.
Yeah. He should have bought that stuffed monkey from Letterman.
That was also
Absolutely.
weird. What would you have done
know?
to that monkey, Jeremy?
Things.
wow.
Put Amy on the phone.
No, it'd have just been my little pal. Yeah. I'd have named him Walter.
Hey, sport.
Walter's a good name for a sock monkey, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a pretty good name.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. David Letterman. He wants to know where the what is it? The Queen
Catherine.
Yeah.
He wants to know where the Queen Catherine is. That's the fancy lad boat that he's getting on.
Yeah.
David Letterman points him in the wrong direction.
And he
Yeah,
goes.
he sends him to, what was the boat's name?
The dirty whore?
the filthy
filthy
whore.
whore. Sorry.
The Filthy Whore.
And this is where we meet. I don't even know what his designation is, but we meet Andy Richter, who is Kenny. He is just watching.
Isn't he
them.
he's the original cabin boy?
He might be.
Is that even? I mean, really?
Seems
Yeah, I mean, he's like the
yeah.
lackey that serves on this boat. I think he's a relative of one of
Right.
the people
I
on the
feel
boat.
he was not referred to as cabin boy because I feel everyone had at least a little more respect for him, and no one wanted Kenny to die.
Well, Kenny was a simpleton.
Yeah.
Right.
Plain and simple.
No
Yeah.
one seemed upset when he did die. Though.
They were a little irked that Kenny was in fact dead.
Yeah. they were inconvenienced by it, I
Yeah,
suppose.
they had to work because of it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
All the Kenny tasks no one wanted to do.
Yeah, again, as Hazel noted, Kenny is also dishing out the insults to Nathaniel, like you're pretty, like all right, ma'am, and then
Step.
eventually he goes into like the boat. Like, so basically, Nathaniel thinks he's on the right boat, and he thinks it's themed like a dirty old pirate boat, and he's like, I'll take my own cabin, and then applies some like night cream and is like trying to get ready for bed, and when he opens the door, it's like this Miss Doubtfire moment. He's like, you're pretty like my gran. He's like, yes, and drinks a cup of chum and goes to bed.
Yeah.
That is, oh, God.
Robust.
Spicy, quite robust.
Yeah. How many cups of chum are you guys gonna have before you go to bed tonight?
Oh, Jesus.
young.
Just one or I have weird dreams.
Yeah.
What kind of drink? What kind of chum dreams?
Chum
are you
dreams.
having?
I can't. That's for the other.
Do I need a hashtag chum dreams?
That's for the
the
late
other-
night
Yeah.
version of
Yes.
this podcast.
Dreams of shark men.
Yeah,
and
you want to
giants.
make sure you spell that one correctly.
Killed Collin.
I am trying to drink here.
It's fair. Well, basically, the crew comes back, and it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. That, Chris Elliott's all nestled in, and then the crew's there, drunk as skunks, but they've already set sail. So,
Well, if I looked like these guys, I would be drunk all the time too.
Yeah.
we got a crack crew here. We got members of Silver Bullet coming at us. We got Brion James. Come on, Blade Runner. We noted last time we saw him, Silverado. Also, Crime Wave.
Paul's favorite movie, Crime Wave.
Crime Wave. Yeah, Brian Doyle-Murray. Come on, we got this crew is awesome.
We got both the Bryans.
So, although you're saying David Letterman is your favorite character, and I totally understand, like, fantastic cameo, the crew, like, as a collective, that is my favorite part of this movie.
I like
Yeah.
Pappy.
Paps.
Oh yeah,
Paps is great.
Pappy,
Yeah.
Graybar,
The problem solver of the crew.
Captain Graybar.
Is that the captain's name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great bar.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this crew, this is what I'm noting. Like, this crew has aged so well for me that I think anyone who has walked through life and is approximately closer to our age is like, yeah. Like, if you're just doing your job, imagine anyone right now, you've done your job for some point in time, and you get some a-hole being like, you're now going to cater to me, and I'm not even part of this. Any person working that job is like, go to
I would just throwing the guy overboard.
Right.
Man.
I mean, I think everyone
For
relates to
sure,
the crew,
movie.
and they're fun loving, and they look out for each other, except for Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny was disposable.
He was disposable.
This is why this has been brought to you by Disposable Kenny.
Poor disposable Kenny.
Are you having an intimate night? Did you have a couple of drinks?
Don't forget.
Going back home? Disposable Kenny.
Get a disposable Kenny.
Around this time, I love the movie Major League, and James Gammon.
Oh,
he
yeah.
he will always be Major League to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his voice.
Yeah.
I mean, you could almost hear his voice like who's oh my god, I can't think of, like, The Bar Gets You. Sam Elliott. Like, he's got a similar gruff voice, but I could hear the distinction in my head, but like two really notable gruff voiced fellas.
Yeah.
Oh man, imagine
A
talking to
gruff
each other.
voiced fella.
I can. I hope we would be like playing poker and like drinking the hard liquor. It seems amazing.
You would have to be.
I mean, well, that's what got him there, I'm sure.
You don't get a voice like that eating clean.
After a hard day of wrestling cattle
Yeah.
Yes.
or something.
Not always wrestling.
So you got to wrestle something.
Wrestling hard cattle.
You know, the real weird commercial I saw not too long ago was Sam Elliott was highlighting like cattle ranching and stuff. And you're like, okay, like that's totally like the voice. It was like, when you get home, you want like a good cooked meal, and that's going to be with you like Doritos. No, it's Fritos. It's Fritos. I'm sorry. It's Fritos
That
going
makes
in.
more sense, I
Fritos
guess.
going into Frito pie. But it still alarmed me. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Fritos. Like that's mix that into good Frito pie. I was like,
He's also in those stupid insurance commercials with fucking Gronk, and that bums
Oh,
me
yeah.
out. And he just seems old and confused.
come on, guys.
Oh, he is.
Wondering why he's in an insurance commercial.
Are you saying the bar's getting him?
The bar got him, I think. Yeah, yeah, it did. Damn it. Yeah. So the fancy lad wants to go to Hawaii because that's where his father is, I guess.
His dad's
His
hotel.
daddy.
Yeah.
His daddy's hotel. Daddy.
Who we'll see at the end of the movie and looks like Benjamin Franklin.
But Hazel noted some trivia. Hazel.
So that's Chris Elliott's actual father.
Oh, there you go.
That's true.
But I also, my mom told me that because she is some wizard when it comes to facts about this movie.
I noted this on one of the episodes. Yeah.
And
like,
I literally said the same thing. I was like, that's his father? I thought it was Ben Franklin.
How did she know? Like before IMDb, did she go to like the library to look this up or something?
She put on her readers and she was like,
Yeah.
time to do some
Look up in the
research.
tabloids.
She made some readers. She fashioned.
She made some calls back
she
then. Like,
fashioned those
like
readers.
Hollywood.
Right.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I thought I was fancy noting that. I thought it was a fancy lad noting that Chris Elliott's daughter is Sugar in The Bear, who does a phenomenal job on that show, by the way. But I've seen them interviewed together. They did something else together once. This is years ago. I can't remember. It was like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. Sometimes I just watch like interviews online, and they were interviewed together. And I'm like, oh, like it seemed like a very like loving father-daughter unit. And I was like, yes. I was like, finally, people like each other.
Oh, we made it.
They did it.
Yeah.
New year, new likings.
Yeah.
This year, we're going to like each other.
Finally, the money paid off.
Isn't that
finally,
Jolly Jack splendid?
Finally, we have the chits.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
I could buy 3 plants.
That's too many plants.
Yeah, not enough chits for that.
You're never going to keep that alive. Oh, God, I got beer in my eye.
I was
There
like,
you go.
wow, no one's talking. And
The
then
fuck?
Mike just has beer in his
What?
eye.
That's what Mike gets for not talking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We just took a half an hour break for those at home
Yeah.
to deal with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
crisis averted. We're back.
Kind of cutting to the gist. Through all of his kind of obsessive, belligerent rantings to all the crew members, he's trying to convince them to go to Hawaii. No one budges. But at night,
Kenny does.
Kenny
Yeah, he's trying to
eventually-
convince them by like giving them their dirty. He's like, "These are my socks that I've been wearing.
Yeah.
Would you
I
like, these
Brian,
to take me to Hawaii?"
Brian James is like, I've been wearing the same socks for 3 weeks. Yeah, and basically he gets to Kenny, and Kenny's like, I know how to navigate. Kenny does not.
I just got to turn.
He's real good at maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
250,000 degrees northeast.
Yeah,
And that'll get you there.
that'll get you there.
That was
Why-
the first
why
part that
here we
really
come?
got me. Like northeast, if you're in the Pacific, is not.
Right. Yeah. Northeast, you'd have to be somewhere weird for that to be the way to get to Hawaii.
Yeah, so basically Kenny directs them to Hell's Bucket, and that's where they're going, and they are in just insane storms. I have so many soft spots, and then, as I said, like I kind of purposely guided us to the idea of Terry Gilliam, Baron von Munchausen.
Is it the cherubs blowing the wind?
Yeah,
that
like
did it for you?
that definitely is reminiscent. And also, you know, Mike and I are big fans of like the Mighty Boosh and a lot of like BBC things. This is definitely like carried on till today and
there's,
stuff like that.
There's definitely a Mighty Boosh moon later on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like this for me is like timeless. Like there is you
Old
see this
Greg
in
vibes.
yeah, like you see this like in like some of the illustrations of old books. You see it like in these like old school like BBC TV shows. Yeah, I like there's a lot of props I want to give to this. We also noted the special effects that we'll talk about a little later, that I saw that this was modeled after the same guy who's doing Clash of the Titans stop motion clay animation. This definitely is apparent in this. I love this. The homages in this film, even if someone didn't like this film, if you are a film buff, this movie is definitely a must see. I mean, like very serious about that. Like,
I think a lot of film buffs would disagree with you.
really, like
Yes, I do think that.
like
Yeah.
even like
I don't disagree with you.
yeah, but I think like if you went through this like more with a lens of just like I'm watching this for the homages and like what people were doing, I think that would be interesting. Like we're more of like a podcast like joking around, we're some friends, but like if you were like actually like I'm coming up with like a dissertation on film, like, and how this impacted like comedy or other films, like this movie is kind of a must see in ways for me.
It does have a lot of like really interesting like practical effects.
Right,
Yeah.
like
As
things
far
like
as,
things like
yeah.
that. Like, and again, like even that same person, like, and that could be Collin. Like that critic could be like, I understand like writing and like observing the impact versus like, do I actually like the story and the unfolding of that? That could be completely different. But I mean, how this movie came together is just, again, like it's like a play performance. There's a lot of people doing just a lot of creative things. Again, if it like pays off in the end, is like viewers always like their perspective. But yeah, I don't know.
You know what's hilarious? Like on IMDb, you can filter out ratings, like, you know, like people that have accounts on IMDb or whatnot, not critical reviews, but you can. The fucking, you talk about Terry Gilliam and all that stuff. The fucking United Kingdom hated this movie.
Just
They fucking hate
as
it.
a country or a unit of countries.
Yeah, you can do it by like United States, Canada, Australia, Finland, United Kingdom. Yeah,
The
they were
UK
not having it.
What did Australia think?
Let's see. Let's see.
It seems like they would be into this.
Dingoes.
Australia had mixed. They have a few people really liked it, gave it 10s.
Okay.
They gave it their worst
but it was really
rating
mixed.
ever.
It was middle of the
7
road.
thumbs
Yeah,
up.
middle of the road for Australia.
I really wonder why the UK didn't like this. I mean, is it too close to things they have
Yeah,
done?
they thought they were being made fun of because they're all a bunch of fancy lads.
Exactly.
That's fair. That's fair.
100%.
Yeah.
They were mad the wig got wet.
Yeah.
They walked out, Collin. Get
Yeah,
up,
it was the
get up,
moment they all
kids.
got up.
The
Get up.
barrister will hear of this.
Get up. We're writing letters and we're leaving right now, children.
Yeah,
By Jove, they're making a mockery of us.
they're sending message to Parliament.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeremy, I'm kind of curious. Like, I know we'll go through our final synopsis and we're still like going through this, but like, how do you feel about this movie? Like, as we're going through this, like when you saw this as a kid versus now.
I love this movie when I was young and we saw it. There was just something funny about the dialogue and the character interactions in it. Yeah, but like I said, viewing it through the lens now, it's the movie's so ridiculous, but it is fun. It is fun. I think it would be better to watch it with a group. It's one of those groups.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a fun
group.
group. If you're watching this alone,
It's a Charlie
I feel like it
Brown.
has a very different tone. I feel like, but like it's such a fun movie to watch in a group and kind of like chitter chatter during it. And
No, I think that this would be a tough audience for modern viewers, like somebody that's 20 years old in today, like right now. I think if you showed them this, they'd be like, "This is ridiculous. What is this?"
Yeah, I think. I think like again, then you'd have to be like, this is like a study into like cinema for like specific reasons, or like we're looking at this because there was like homages to British literature and like cinema and maybe like play performances. Like you would have to like frame it, I think, to a 20-year-old viewer.
tell that to my child in 20 years.
Well, our children are going to be held captive, Hazel.
when we're clockwork oranging them and making them watch this
Right.
movie.
You love this movie. Daddy wants you to love this movie. Love this movie for the family, kids. Yeah. We'll talk more about this, but yeah, I mean, this movie's just like really interesting. I think one way or another, I think the biggest concerns Mike and I had like talking about movies early on is like, what if we like just hate movies and stuff? I kept telling Mike, like, that's just good conversation. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if there's something to talk about, that's cool. And I don't know, like, it doesn't mean all of us have to like it.
I've had the best times talking about the worst movies. I know you hated Crime Wave, but I had a blast with Crime Wave because it was so bad.
Your Crime Wave, just again going back, like, as you know, the Brion James connection. It's just such a disappointment that you have like Sam Raimi like helming this, one of the Coen brothers. So many fun people. I can't think of Ash's name.
I think that this movie,
Wait, who?
Bruce Campbell?
Bruce
Campbell,
Campbell. Oh,
yeah.
thank God. Well,
like, I think this movie's good because of what it is, but I also think it's tough to describe it to people in the way that we see it.
but this is good, man. This is how like weird magic comes together. We have like a Tim Burton connection.
Even
who's-
trying
Yeah,
to
that's
describe
true.
it just as what it is, I think is kind of insane.
Yeah.
No, it's a fancy lad. He loses his wig. He gets on a boat. There's a
Yeah,
shark
there's little
man.
cherubs blowing, like, yeah, it's just it's weird, but it works for me. You
Yeah.
know?
this movie's a lot of fun.
But now
Well, I mean,
the
we should just know, like, Kenny's dead, so Andy Richter has fallen off the boat, and now they're going to Hell's Bucket. When the crew wakes up, they're like,
and
oh
I
my
gotta be
God.
honest, I never thought that would be the last time we saw Kenny. I mean, we see him like a glimpse.
Yeah.
Hey,
he goes
man,
back.
we're in Colorado.
later.
You could say it. Oh, my God. You killed Kenny.
Yeah. He really is dead this time.
Yeah, and he's not coming back.
You bastards.
When the crew wakes up, they're super pissed. They basically tie him up, and they're like, oh, my God, you're such an inconvenience. And they force him into the cabin boy role. Their crux is the ship is kind of somewhat damaged, and they're like, we're going to have to go to an island. We're going to have to get some supplies, fix this up. Later, they do go to an island. I will kind of note what those supplies are. It's like we need tree sap, and we need like palm leaves and like dry debris. It kind of makes sense. Like, okay,
And a
like,
shitload of gravel.
and that's their plan to get all those things. And then on the side, they're like, we're going to dump this piece of shit right on that island. Well, we're not going to kill him, but we're going to leave him there. And that's just like what he deserves. And
But they do kind of try to kill him along the way.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
a little weird in the story.
And what they did to him would have killed most.
Yeah.
human
Well, they
beings.
sent him, what was it, Outward Watch or whatever they called it?
Fancy lads aren't most men. Yes,
No.
or boys.
That's true.
Yeah, let's just go to it. So eventually, after pure annoyance, they send him on Outward Watch, where they send him on a rope 2 miles from the boat.
Yeah, so what, like 100 feet, 200 feet of rope?
2 miles.
2 miles.
2 miles worth.
And after a week, he could ring a bell and they'll bring him back. But he's going to keep watch in case there's really just anything. Pirates, people, stuff. I don't know.
What do they send him out with for provisions?
Chocolate milk.
Gallon of chocolate milk
And some good bread.
Some good bread.
and some good bread.
Isn't that what they did in Tremors? They're like, here's like a pound of Swiss and some milk.
When Egg gave him like sandwich fixins for the horses or whatever. Yeah.
Is okay. The 2 miles of rope blew my fucking mind.
Yeah. No, they have easily
Well,
10,000
and
feet
it
of
wasn't
rope.
2 miles of rope. I mean, you could see him right there the whole time, man. 2 miles of rope, I feel like.
Jeremy,
yeah,
that's
you're
just
not gonna
how
see him
that's
anymore.
how cameras work.
Well, I mean, this movie is just proving that the Earth is flat, guys. So
Finally, we're talking about the real issue.
the real issue.
I know
Yeah.
it. I know it.
Yeah, the 2 miles of
Yeah.
rope.
You can drink seawater, right?
This is a year of discovery.
It's water, isn't it?
It's water.
Well, while he's like throwing it, yeah, they told him he could drink seawater. He's like bursting and baking in this like fireball
Everything
sun.
about Outward Watch is my
The best part of this
favorite
movie.
thing of this movie.
We get to see the cupcake.
the big fat
Yeah,
ass
the
floating
Tim Burton
cupcake.
Tim Burton made
Tim
a
Burton's
cupcake.
cupcake.
Eventually, he is roped back in and still kind of dazed. He sees a woman who's just floating. And
Well, I'd also like to talk about the introduction of one of my favorite characters.
oh yeah, of course, yes, of
Chalky,
course, yes, of course.
aka Dr. Jacoby.
Yes, Chalky. Chalky isn't just like a mortal. Chalky
Yeah,
is.
He's a half man, half shark.
In one of the best underwater sequences I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Yes.
Is that the word you want to use there?
Underwater?
Or best.
I don't. Can we? Can
He
we,
was clearly the stunt
It was
work
neither of those.
of Chris Elliott, who was clearly underwater for
can,
real.
Can I say underwater on this podcast?
We'll fix it in post.
Well, yeah, Chalky, half man, half shark, is there, and it grows a little bit of affection towards Nathaniel.
Not like sexy affection. Just,
No,
you
just
know,
Yeah,
The regular
I'm going to take this young man under my wing and teach him the ways of the sea.
under
Chalky
his
ways.
fin.
Yeah.
Chalk talk.
Yeah.
Hi, here's our new
Thanks
podcast.
for tuning in to Chalk Talk.
You're listening to Chalk Talk.
We just talk about the exploits of Chalky the man shark.
And you could, too.
You know, we would have a niche audience, but honestly, Jeremy, I think there would be an audience for it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I mean, we'd get four terrible letters a year.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading up about Russ Tamblyn, aka Chalky, and I stumbled upon an article about roles that he had accepted and turned down, and he had turned down the role of Gilligan in Gilligan's Island.
Oh, man.
He's busy playing a shark man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jacoby.
Sometimes weird things come up.
Yeah.
Well, Nathaniel's eventually brought up, and that's where he like sees this woman floating. We find out this is a woman named Trina, but before we get to the introductions, he's like, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Oh my God, I've fallen in love!" And he's enamored from the get-go, and he narrates this to us, the audience, and he's like, "Finally, I found love. It was destiny." She's not responding. He's like, "Oh my God, like the first person I find that I fall in love with is dead." Nets her. She gets up and highlights the story of, I've been floating around the world. Was it Maryland to Maryland?
Maryland to Maryland.
And now you screwed me, and I broke the rules because I'm not allowed to be on solid ground or touch something solid or like. Clearly, she can't be on a ship or a boat or anything like this. And she was sleeping, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I love the interactions he initially has with her. He ignores the holy shit out of every word she is saying, every which way, and it is the most self-centered dialogue I have ever heard in my entire life. It is, I love you, and you're amazing, and I don't know you, but we're going to be together. And she's like, I don't like you, and you suck, and you screwed me over. And it's like a huge contradiction, but he eventually wins her over. That son of a bitch, this fancy son of a bitch lad wins her over.
Yeah.
Like Tommy Lee of the Sea.
I don't know what to say to that, but Google it, viewers. Google it.
No one should Google that. No, he is he's as they say, he's a little pea-whipped, which is French for pudding.
Pee-whipped.
It is French for pudding.
Yeah.
Is that what the French word for pudding is?
Pea-whipped.
P-whipped, yes.
Yeah.
Go to France.
I'll use that.
Request P-whipped.
Bonjour.
Pea whipped.
That was your pee.
Ideally, what I've been told is if you go to France, do not speak the language and continuously talk louder and more in their face, especially if you're like, I've seen Cabin Boy, Pea-whipped, I want this pudding. They will appreciate that.
Absolutely.
This is what you want. This is the French.
Pee-whipped.
This is the French
Just
connection.
yelling at him. They'll figure it out.
They'll get there.
They will get there.
Google Translate that.
I want so badly to go to France and just start yelling P-whipped at locals.
And for dessert, madame, of the pea-whipped,
I'm sorry, Mike. Then.
Like there's this
Sorry,
dude.
the
We could say,
chocolate pee-whipped.
and then when people are like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you yelling this?" You're like, "Well, there's a podcast that tells people to say
Absolutely.
this in France."
That's how we'll break
Boom,
out.
viewership up, guys.
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Cornering that
All right.
French market.
yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Both of our French listeners, let us know what you think about that.
Yes. We.
Yeah,
Send us some French pea whipped.
Right in.
Don't send that to me. But as noted before, Mike said he would appreciate things left on his porch, so
100%. Yeah, you leave what you got,
leave the P-whip.
and if it's worth it, we can talk about it on my other podcast.
What is the other podcast?
Well, as we determined last week, it's titled "The Stiffs Dossier."
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I thought your OnlyFans account.
It's both.
Yeah.
My OnlyFans is me just reading things. It's a live podcast.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we have a new character. It's Trina. She's on the boat. Again, the affections that Nathaniel has one-sided. But he's going to
I
become
would be
a man
freaked
soon.
out if I was this lady, man. I'd be like, "Oh, this does not look like a boat I want to be on." Right now.
Dude, I would find every sharp object in my proximity and be like, this would be like, I would have to use every prayer, wish, and magic element in my body to be like, this is the proximity, and this is what would be like the Matrix. I'd be like, this is how I kill people to get off or stay on this boat.
This is how you get off. Yeah.
That is how you get.
That's how you do it.
Listeners, you didn't see the visual, but Paul was doing
It was explicit.
it was.
Inadvertently this time.
Yeah.
So-
I would have just gotten back in the water if I
Yeah,
were her.
she could leave at any
Yeah,
time.
like
That-
she
I
was
mean,
floating
sure.
fine.
Right.
Like, just go back
This
to
was her
sleep.
whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
I think she wanted to stay. She was pretty intrigued.
Well, I
about
think it
what
was
going on.
now that you screwed me halfway through, I'm gonna take a little nap, and she does. She basically goes to the upper level or
Yeah.
the crow's nest area of a ship. I don't know ship
No,
terminology.
it's the crow's nest.
Is it
Actually, that's where I would go if I had to
Yeah.
stay on this ship.
Yeah.
as
So
a lady.
So that's where she goes, and then they go to sleep, and they wake up, and there's frigid temperatures, and they realize they're basically in cursed waters. And this guy is bad luck. And that was one of the IMDb summaries that Nathaniel is not bringing them good luck. For everyone, he's like the Midas touch of shit.
Right. Well, I mean, he's already killed a man and led them.
Kenny wasn't a man; he was a spirit that they inhaled after he went into the water.
Interesting take. Can you expound on that?
I cannot.
Okay. Yeah, so they're navigating the icebergs. The fancy lad, his job is to keep an eye out for icebergs
And dance later.
and dance later. Yeah,
And he does burn her diary immediately. She's like, "Cool, I've had that since I was a child."
He used it to start.
Why did he burn? I can't remember why he burned that diary.
Hazel
Why did he do
started
that?
Stoke the stove.
He stoked the stove with a book.
Yeah.
With her diary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen, he's a fancy lad. He doesn't know.
He didn't teach basic principles of fire.
Anytime I
At
make a
fancy
mistake
lad
for the
school.
rest of my life, I just want to use that as an excuse.
Yeah. He also doesn't know what stars are, evidently.
no,
What was he learning in this school?
how to do top hat stuff.
I don't know if I'm
whatever.
jumping too far ahead, but here's some out of text dialogue that I wrote down. That at some point in time, one of the crew members gives accolades to Nathaniel, And he's like, yeah, like, thanks a lot. He's like, that's enough. Like, don't touch me. He's like, why do we always have to hide our emotions, Mr. Fancy Macho Man?
One of my favorite parts of the movie comes up now. One of the icebergs was previously winking at everybody.
This is where we see that weird claymation.
Yeah, the weird
homage.
claymation thing. It's like a claymation ice creature who gets on the boat, and I don't know what he's doing on the boat.
Oh, he's just pissed off that
He's
they're
just
there.
pissed
He's
off,
like, screw these people.
Well, they keep running into him, I think.
Yeah, they ran into
Yeah,
him.
they technically the crew of the Filthy Horse started it.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, they were up in his shit.
They poked him.
They did poke him, and they continued to do so when he was on the deck. Except for Fancy Lad, who was just stepping on his foot. What are you doing? I'm trying to give him foot pain. Isn't it obvious? I don't know why, but that just sends me. I'm trying to give him foot pain.
It gets me every time.
Yeah.
This is like a big action-packed fight between this monster and the crew.
Yeah.
And Nathaniel says, I'm trying to give him foot pain.
Well, one of the crew members just blasts him with some coffee, and then it turns him into just like the most perfectly like dispersed ice cubes.
A monster-shaped
Yeah.
pile of ice cubes.
I
love
dream of those
Yeah.
ice cubes. They were perfect. There
Yeah.
were a lot of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, side note, and I don't care what people think about this. I'm willing to talk about some ice. That when people are like, "Oh, like going to McDonald's and you get those like half disc ice things." I
No.
haven't been to McDonald's since I was a kid, but I'm going to tell you from my memory and people telling me that, I know exactly what they're talking about. Like, you want the most perfect ice cubes ever given to you, like that, or what we saw this monster turn into, like. When Mike, you and I, like one of my two, like going to Sonic to get those, like,
Ooh, yeah.
The best ice is Sonic ice.
Absolutely.
You can all
yeah.
fucking fight me.
No
right?
contest.
That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
what I'm like. I'm willing to take a moment.
Is
to
that
talk
like
about
the
ice.
chopped up ice or something?
Yeah, it's so good.
Pearl ice or pellet ice.
It's yeah.
Ooh, got the lingo going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm
Nice.
fucking serious about my
Sonic.
ice.
Like I like the like big round ball of ice if I'm gonna like have something at night.
Oh, like for a cocktail?
that's
I've
very
given you some of those, Colin.
Yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah, we have the mold. We have like those circular molds. I bought
Molded
one.
ball ice.
I bought one like years ago, and I've given a couple to Colin over the years. He's like, I never thought I'd own one. I was like, Colin, our ice machine was just like busting out. So I was like, this is like $5. I'm gonna try it. And I was like, it was so good.
It's so
We
good.
still have them.
But if I'm like drinking like a soda or something, yeah, Sonic
Yeah,
Ice.
Sonic
Oh,
Ice.
Sonic, yeah.
100%.
The best.
And that's where we are in this movie, Cabin Boy Ice.
Sonic ice.
Sponsored by Sonic.
Yeah, boom. But now, once they get past these ice caps, they're at the island. The
Yeah.
island that they want to go to. And they're like, finally. And the crew members are like, we're going to ditch Trina too. Like, I know this is kind of weird. Like, I feel almost in a gruff way, they're kind of being nice because they're like, at least he'll have company. Because they're like, we're not going to kill either of them, but to a point, it would be nice to have a friend on the island that you're abandoned to die to. So,
Yeah.
Great.
Well, he's complaining to the crew. He's like, it's embarrassing to say, but I don't know how to talk to her. I'm not connecting because he's in love, big time, and she's not responding.
Just not having it.
And the crew's like, I'll tell you what,
you need to see Callie.
Yeah.
you need to see Callie. She'll clean your pipes.
This takes a weird turn. A turn.
This takes a weird turn. They just
was
saw
gonna
the
say.
goddamn iceberg that climbed on.
I'm gonna say this, Jerry. The husband of this takes a weird turn for me. Like his whole backstory with a lob, him like
yeah.
this isn't the first time. I'm like, there is some time and effort put into this. This was a screenwriter having an emotional breakdown.
Yeah. Well, he finds this. It's up in a cave. There's a beaded curtain.
Are these all euphemisms?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very well decorated cave with some pretty sexy music.
Also euphemism.
And Kali is like a Hindu god.
Sure.
She's blue and has 6 arms. She's like, yeah, I fuck everybody who comes around here.
But answers my riddles. You've got to answer my riddles.
Do you remember the riddles?
Really answer
I
the
don't
riddles,
because
though.
no one answered them.
I wrote them down.
Sure, let's go for it, Mike.
How does the moon greet her daughters?
Do
Trip
you
to the
remember the
mall.
responses?
No.
Trip to the mall.
Trip to the
Purchase.
mall. For some treats. or
Bye-bye. Have lunch, girls.
whatever.
Yeah.
What are the
Gift
7
some sort.
contradictions of Arepa? Something of the equator? I can't read what I wrote.
Yeah. What?
And he doesn't know that one at all. He doesn't even guess. And
And
she's
she
like,
doesn't-
you know,
she doesn't
fine.
even
She's
care.
like, you know
No.
what? Let's do this anyway.
Yeah, just we got to be quick before
Mulligan.
Mulligan gets home. Mulligan I fucking love Mulligan.
I love Mulligan. And I know that
I-
I've said this at several points, but this is also another one of my favorite parts. The fact that it's like he's supposed to be some mythological creature, but
Right.
as
Well, he's
Gunk
a
says,
giant,
he's just some guy, I guess.
but he's a furniture salesman.
The guy from Dumb and Dumber
Yeah, Mike Starr, who's amazing. And as Hazel pointed out, dies in every movie.
Hot sauce in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Mock. See?
Pick him up.
Pick him up.
Yeah, this is such like a weird turn. Like, yeah, Jeremy, you're right. Like, this is the weird turn. Like, but like this is like extra. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just
Well,
so,
he's in a suit because
That's
he's
the thing,
selling.
right?
What is he selling?
He's a salesman.
He opened a furniture
yeah, but he
store.
just sold
A housewares.
something today.
But he sold one electric
sold
toothbrush
health-
to a flying
But
leprechaun.
electric, yeah. So he's
How
selling
many
things to
How many arms does his wife have?
6.
6.
I'm like, how many is not sexy? How about this, listeners? Think this out.
8.
Well, if you had
Eight's too many.
if you had extra arms and like in a fun sex way, like what's going on? How many is too much, and how many is the right amount?
Well, I mean, when you're as big as Mulligan, that dude's got to
Yes,
be
you're going to
pretty-
need 6 arms to.
Yeah.
to
But
do
when you're Chris
anything,
Elliott,
really.
Yeah.
I don't know what she did with those arms.
Chris
you know,
Elliott
this
didn't
is
have
a
any
PG
experience. He doesn't
film.
know what he wants.
We didn't get to see.
Yeah.
But we do get like the signature scene from the trailer where he comes out of the cave exclaiming
These
that,
pipes are
that his
clean.
pipes are clean.
They're clean, damn it.
His shirt's
These
tucked in.
Yeah. No, and he's all cleaned up. His shirt's tucked in. He's a little bit tidied up. He's looking okay.
Yeah, from a fancy lad to a cabin man.
He's a cabin man. now.
And to quote Trey Parker, "Now you're a man, man, oh man, oh man."
Is that a DVDA? The band?
It is.
Yes, it is.
Manny Mounty Mountum. Man.
And he leaves his purse in the cave.
He does leave his purse in the cave.
Yeah, his man
Mulligan
purse.
shows up and is like, "Damn it!"
There's a lot of purse talk between Hazel and Mike recently, and I'm going to send everyone, I'm going to send at least them a little text message.
Wow. Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
The other result that the pipe cleaning has is that he has a new, he's cleaned up. He's got a new instilled confidence, and Trina is hot for it.
She folds
Just-
immediately.
Immediately.
A complete
Yeah.
180 or a 350,000 degree
Yeah.
turn.
She's like, I should be disgusted by what you just said, but somehow it works for me.
But you're so confident.
It's so wild. Yeah, the confidence, that's all he needed. Because he was like, hey, I just boned a mythological creature, and now I'm confident. She's like, and now you're going to bone me.
Yeah, it ruined this
Yeah.
actress's career.
It-
I like how he
this movie
admits
ruined
to
a
her
lot of
too.
careers.
While he's talking to her, he's like, "Yeah, I just came back from this broad up the way, this six arm skank that I just
Yeah.
banged, and now
He's a little,
now let's take a roll in the hay."
he's not full of descriptions during that time. He's like, some things happened.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what happened.
But Mulligan's pissed now. He's coming.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then, the crew has to fight him. But then Nathaniel does own up to it. He's like, it was me. And the crew's like, that sucks.
What is that thing? Oh, big guy, I guess.
Big guy, yes. Best line delivery.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
The crew is just so good. I mean, the crew, there are scenes where they're playing poker, they're drinking, they're bumbling around, sleeping. This crew has seen it all. And even the captain notes, like, I come from a background. This is like, I'm third generation. We get drunk, we fish, we go have sex. This is our life. Deal with it. And I'm like, I understand. Like, that dude's pretty legit. And this fancy lad just wandered over and just like threw a fancy monkey wrench into the dude's whole life system. Screw
Right
this
into
guy.
his whole life system.
Right in the captain's hole.
Life system.
I'm sorry, Cappy's hole.
Life system.
Very nice.
Well, yeah, so the Mulligan is coming for him.
This also brings about my favorite mode of transportation.
Oh, God.
Oh
In the
my
entire
god!
And Collin,
that
I know
is
you hated
just
this movie,
magical.
but every time
Yeah.
he rode Trina like a jet ski, you were
So imagine,
He
yeah, as
rode
Mike's noting,
Trina.
as Mike noted, Trina like a jet ski. Imagine Trina is like going ultra fast like a dolphin, but imagine you have a harness and you're standing on that dolphin. Well, that's Chris Elliott standing on Trina as she's like, ee, and she really goes for it. Well, Chris Elliott jumps on Mulligan's back, eventually takes off his belt and chokes him with it.
I stabbeth thee.
Let's not talk about, let's not forget about
Chalky comes
Chalky,
back.
yeah.
I was going to say, let's not forget about Chalky, who's just like beating his ball sack like a what was that? What's the bag?
Like a boxing bag.
Like a ball sack.
I remember watching that part as a kid, and when Mulligan gets Chalky in like a headlock or whatever,
he
I
tries-
was genuinely concerned. I was
Yeah,
like,
he tries to choke Chalky
"No."
out. But then Chalky gets free and just beanbags him. Bop,
Yeah.
bop, 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 bop.
Justice for Chalky.
Yeah. And then, Mulligan's dead. Awesome. I guess Callie's fine. She's living a good life.
Yeah,
She'll get that insurance money.
Yeah. Well, now she owns a furniture store.
Dope. And then they go to Hawaii.
Yeah, they made it.
Yeah, and that was the destination all along. And that's where you see Chris Elliott meet his real father. And his father's like, you will join us and you'll join the family business. He's like, damn you, father. I don't want any of those things. And before that, like, the crew's like, bye. And Trina's like, yeah, you suck.
Well,
bye."
they were having like Mai Tais at like a resort in like Hawaiian shirts.
Well, Brion James is like on this, like the down low. He's like, go meet some like high end like prostitutes.
Yeah.
For me, and I was like,
Yeah,
I think you could just do that yourself. Like,
You could do that.
Yeah.
You're here.
like why are you? Yeah.
Well, he didn't have any money because he fucked up their fishing.
Oh, right. They didn't make
I
any
thought
fish.
he meant send them to him.
I see.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
They spent the last of their cash on those Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah. I mean, Tommy Bahama, that shit's expensive.
Well, Chris Elliott tells off his father, and that's the
Yeah.
last time we see him. He's like, I'm
Throws
done
his
with
wig
this.
right at him.
Yeah. I don't even
That's
know
how
if we
you
talked
know.
about that he got his wig back.
It
But
was
he-
stuck to Trina's butt.
Yeah, it was.
Whatever.
So he got it back, and now it's gone again. Butt wig back to the sea.
I'd really like to drive more points home by throwing a wig at someone in a position of power.
Or just carry one around
Yeah.
with you, or a
Yeah.
couple. Yeah.
If you
your power
slapped
wig.
someone
Yeah.
in the face with a wet wig, that is like game on
right?
there.
Power, ultimate power move.
That's
Or
pistols
Endgame.
at dawn, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like you started it or
Fisticuffs.
ended it. Like, I don't know.
So what you're saying is Christmas is settled. Fancy like a wet wig. Is the
Absolutely.
perfect
Absolutely.
This is like the new feats of strength. You have to pin someone and then hit them with a wig.
To all you listeners out there, please send me your wet wigs so I can use them in all of my disagreements.
You better watch what you're asking.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
feel
gonna
feel
get
free to
some.
email me and I'll give you that address. Do
Yeah.
not in any which way to us. That's us.
You're getting the Merkins that we talked about earlier.
You better set up
know.
a P.O. box stat.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Well, with this, Chris Elliott and Trina are like, we need to go get that ship, and because the ship has already sailed, and that's the end scene where he's riding her, as we noted. And I think they're gonna get to the ship, and they do kind of miss him, and he just wants to live a life at sea. He's like, we want to smell bad, and we want to fish, and we'll all be together. And Trina's like, that sounds great, and that is the end of Cabin Boy.
I don't think Trina's. I think she's delirious or
Well,
something.
Yeah, she's
Trina-
going to come out of this at some point. and be
Trina went Coco
What the
Loco."
fuck am I doing on this boat?
She does make the flip from being a real, like, tough girl that talks about working on girders to, like, oh, Nathaniel, I love you so much. That
Well,
it
maybe
happens
he
real
got, like,
quick.
Maybe he got like magic loins from that six-handed lady
Yeah, he became a
in the cave.
Yeah.
I was asking
A
before,
cabin
what
boy.
are those extra arms for? Maybe it was magic loins.
Magic loins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we get to
old
the
magic coin purse.
the last reviews of Cabin Boy 1994, as always, feel free to reach out to us, rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If there's anything you would like us to review, if there's any kind of movie magic or insight that you have or want to share with us, feel free to email us. If you want those isolated sound clips, I've always promised that you could now get from Hazel or Mike, or, addresses, just let us know. Mike still wants those front porch goods, and you could get it to him. So
Yeah. I'm hungry, guys. What do you got?
What do you got for that stiff dossier?
Holy
Leave it on the
pies.
porch. Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast. No, I think I messed this up last time. rabbittroopsucks.com is also our website. Feel free to go there. We have links to our merchandise. We have pictures. We have our episodes. And as always, our episodes play everywhere podcasts play. And if there's one platform that you're listening and you're curious, are you platform curious? You want to jump ships? Go there. You want to go to YouTube? You want to go to the, just podcast app I use on my iPhone, Spotify, Amazon. Sky's the limit. We're everywhere. Feel free to give us 5 out of 5 stars when you're like, wow, this is a free podcast that these people are doing for free. I like them. I like the cut of their jib. Thanks. 5 out of 5. And we're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram. You could find us there. What did everyone think about 1994 Cabin Boy? Jeremy, what are you thinking?
I like this movie. Again, watching it through the lens of somebody that I am now, I can see how this movie may not be something that the current generation would visit and view and enjoy like I do. It's whimsical. It has a great underlying message. I like the characters and the way they interacted with one another. You could watch this as a family movie. I think it's definitely better to watch like with people. Talk about it while you're watching it. It's super short, so it's not going to take a lot of time. Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to jump to Hazel before we go to Collin on this.
Well, I love this movie through and through.
Collin just drank some whiskey.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's going to offset this review of it with his own. I think it's a lot of fun. I think, my dad likes to watch Turner Classic Movie, and like he'll watch like old black and white movies, and I kind of roll my eyes about some of those picks, and I feel like that's going to carry on as a family tradition. I'm going to watch things like Cabin Boy when I'm in my 70s, and my kid's going to go, "Oh, Mom, not again." But this movie's a fun time. Like we've said, like it's whimsical and weird. I like weird movies, and this is definitely a weird movie. This movie has impacted like my sense of nostalgia to the point where I have a tattoo on my arm that has lightning in it, and my tattoo artist was asking me what color he should outline the lightning in, and I immediately just thought of the line in this movie where he says, "Purple lightning, that's a good sign." So I have purple lightning tattooed on my arm. That's how greatly I've been impacted by the weirdness of Cabin Boy. I'd say if you haven't seen it, you should go out and give it a watch. Embrace the weirdness.
It's going to be a strange handoff right to Collin.
And now for the
Like,
converse of that.
Embrace
fuck you
the
and
weirdness,
fuck your
Collin.
tattoo.
Yeah, it's actually not going to be that bad. So, I mean, I kind of agree that a lot of this movie is like interesting and kind of unique. Like there's definitely like nothing really as bizarre kind of like as some of this movie. It's by no means good, but but like we all have that like nostalgia movie. Like mine's definitely not Cabin Boy because I haven't seen it yet, but I can see how it is because there's a lot of like quirky charm to it. So like halfway through this movie, I'm just like, fuck Nathaniel. He's just such a prick. But at by the time we were done with it, there was enough going on that it did kind of win me over a smidge. Like I don't know if I would never go out of my way to watch this again, but if you guys were like, "Oh, we're watching Cabin Boy," I'm like, fucking fine. I would do it.
Are you going to go home and make your wife watch this movie?
I would never do that to her. So, like like you were saying earlier about, if there was like, like a film study about, like, tropes or something, like there's a lot in here that is interesting, but I wouldn't do it on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, where are you at? Cabin Boy, 1994.
I absolutely love this movie. This movie came out when I was in high school, and much like the movies of like the mid-aughts, like the mid-2000s, like Old School or Wedding Crashers, like the really quotable movies that everyone just like riffed lines off of. This was that movie for my friend group in high school. Like this was the movie that we saw, and like Jeremy going around calling everyone fancy lads. Like in my friend group, we were quoting this movie constantly. So yeah, there's definitely a nostalgia kick there for me. Even still, I think it holds up. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I think maybe, I don't know. You guys are talking about how like I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like I don't think it's maybe as good as many of you think it is. I just think it's really funny. I don't think it's a very important movie in the grand scheme of filmmaking, but I will watch this movie anytime. I absolutely love it. And if listeners, if you think this movie sounds weird and you've never seen it, and you think it sounds weird based on what we're saying, it is way, way weirder than that. Like,
It is.
nothing
Far
that we,
weirder.
Yeah, nothing that we have said has done justice to how bizarre this movie is. And I think everyone should watch it.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. Like I've already said, like I really like this. I could see why someone like might not like this. I could definitely see all the influences this movie has. This movie is like an illustrated book, as I said. Like there's very few settings, but it's way more based on the dialogue. I really like that. When I was younger, I clearly had different opinions, but I could definitely see like as an adult, I'm way more willing to just be like have a dialogue based driven story. I love the crew members. They're by far my favorite in all this. I think this movie's worth watching, but I totally agree. Watch it in a group setting. It's usually what our friend Rami asks us. Rami, watch this in a group setting. But yeah, I think this movie's fun. Chris Elliott's amazing. You know, when Carolyne asks you to watch a film, who's Hazel's mom, you watch that film. And I have no regrets in all this. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to note. So coming up next week, we got a movie right before Mike's birthday, and we were noting notable 1985 movies, and this movie got brought up, and I was like, we're just doing it for Mike's birthday. I kind of made a decision. Well, I mean, Mike approved it. I was like, "Are you?"
I didn't get a say in
Well, I was
this.
like, "Are you down with that?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, because I was like,
Here's
maybe
your
with this-
present.
but-
You do not get the receipt.
But Mike and I have watched this movie numerous times together. This is absolutely a classic and a really fun 1985 film. Fletch, 1985, Chevy Chase.
Looking forward to that. Also, listeners, just to keep the mystery alive, my birthday is not the day this episode will come out.
That's true.
So you don't know.
I
You don't know when the fuck this is.
I said it's near. It's near.
That's true.
It's near. But
I don't
yeah.
want you trying to find me or trying to steal my identity or something.
Yeah, we're going to get the original Fletch. So we're going to get you 2 1985 movies this month. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Any final notes on anything that you want to say about Cabin Boy, 1994?
There is an old gripe. This Cabin Boy is way more like The Odyssey than Strange Brew is to fucking Hamlet. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if I agree with that. I'm going to have to unpack that in my mind.
I think neither of them are to those things at all.
Here's something I want you to unpack because we just entered this new year that I saw a user, not like on us or anything, but like a user note about a movie. Someone said that more people die in Gremlins than they do in Die Hard, and I was like, oh shit,
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, I started thinking, I was like, oh my god,
Those
that
fucking,
person-
like we said in Gremlins, dude, those things had, like,
I know
you
that-
had to kill that
I
mountain
know, I was
lion.
like- I was
Those
like-
things are fucked.
Yeah, I was like,
Really?
oh,
I kind of want to verify this.
I know, I was like, oh my god,
Because I feel like there's not a ton of on-screen deaths in Gremlins.
yeah, but
It's like, if it's implied deaths, maybe. I don't know.
I think
I
the
think
woman
it's
who was launched from her
implied
house, like we didn't see her
Yeah,
die,
there's-
but she's dead.
But that's
Like,
one person.
well,
A lot of
There's
people
the-
got killed in Die Hard.
I would say that whole
Also,
town
no,
died.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that right now because 250 people in an airplane died. So
it's not about that.
if we're counting people,
Die
that
Hard
you-
1.
What?
Die Hard 1.
Oh,
Die Hard 1.
okay. If it's Die Hard, I was thinking because we just did Die Hard 2. No,
The collective diehards.
that might be then
All the Die
Die
Hards.
Hard 1 maybe.
Well, before we get into all this, as always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
And how?
Death count.